and traveling and coming all that way to share with them and provide like sort of leadership and growth opportunities to them. And so we get to do that again, which is we're really stoked for. And so if that's something that you'd want to be a part of, if you're like, I love working with kids, or if you're like, I want to travel internationally and spread the good news of Jesus, then this might be the trip for you. So come find us afterwards. We can get you cost details and a little bit more of the logistics. So thank you.
Thank you, Nate. All right, we are going to move into our transition now to our message, and so kids know what that means. If you are in nursery through 6th grade, your teachers are going to be in the back, and we have awesome, exciting kids' church for you today. For the rest of you, this is just going to be a few minutes of greeting time. Please find somebody you've never met before, say hello to them, welcome them, somebody you haven't seen in a long time, and hug their neck, and we will see you in just a couple minutes.
All right, good morning again. Welcome to Crossroads. Everybody can find their seat. So it's good to be with you today. If you don't know me, my name is Alan. I'm one of the communicators here at Crossroads. So it's so good to get to spend this morning with you as we continue on in our Unhurried series. So we started last week, and we're now in week number 2. And we said that if you want to experience the life of Jesus, you have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. If you want to experience the life of Jesus, you have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. But we live in a fast-paced, rest-when-you-die culture that is busy. The burden of life and the constant hurry can be very heavy on us. It's a burden that we carry of hurry, run, do, go to the next thing, and it becomes very hurry. And it easily distracts us from our faith. It easily distracts us from the very thing that can keep us centered in life. But Jesus teaches us another way. He teaches us that less is more, that there is a different way of doing things. And when we become his apprentice, he teaches us this new lifestyle. When we begin to sit at his feet and learn from him, we learn a new lifestyle. He desires for us to take his yoke of life, of vibrancy, of rest, and of peace. His yoke is gentle, it's humble, and it lacks nothing. You see, his yoke replenishes our soul and comforts us. His yoke prepares a table for us to dine at and a house to dwell in. If you're familiar with Scripture, some of this may be sounding familiar. He prepares a table for us to dine at in front of our enemies, and he offers us the ability to stop running from insecurities and wounds. He offers us rest from our weariness. But we must realize that there are no quick life hacks. There are no easy 1, 2, 3s that get us to that place. There is no, I'll do this today and it'll all be done tomorrow. There is no life hack because we must embrace silence and solitude by slowing down. We must embrace the silence and the solitude of sitting in his presence as his apprentice, allowing him to reconstruct our lifestyle. We must stop hurriedly going our own way. Then we can experience delight in the appointed rhythms of rest in our life. And then and only then will we understand that Jesus is offering us rest for our soul for the rest of our life. But will you take it upon yourself? And that's what we're talking about today. That's the question that we're going to answer today. Will you take it upon yourself? This is a very personal message because I like checklists. I actually like deadlines. When I'm in the store, on my way to the checkout counter, I am analyzing the entire swath of checkout lanes, looking for not only the shortest one, but the shortest one with the least amount of things in people's carts. Especially at Costco. That one, it takes analytical skills to get out of Costco. I'm just saying. And I'm getting better at this, but I also, when I'm driving and I'm coming to an intersection with a stoplight, especially stoplights where there's multiple lanes, I'm looking for the lane that has the semi in it because I know they're going to accelerate a little slower than I want to go. I'm looking for the box trucks that probably are going to, I'm looking for the shortest line, and I am swerving through lanes to get to the one. I'm that guy. I just called myself out. Here's another one, waiting for the last second to merge over so I can get off the interstate in front of all the people going, yeah. I'm the one. See, I don't like to waste time. I like to be efficient. I like to get from one thing to the next. And sometimes when things get in my way, it makes me a little irritable. It makes me a little impatient. It makes me a little antsy. And so this is a very personal message. Because the thought of doing anything slowly can bother me. Everything should be done efficiently and quickly. And there should be a checklist for it, and we should follow through with it. But all of this can bubble up and do a few things. It can stress me out. It can cause me to be distracted from pursuing relationships, not only with others, but with Jesus. It can keep me busy from everything that actually matters. I can be so busy being efficient that I'm completely lacking in my relationship with Jesus, in my relationship with other people, and in a rhythm of life that is sustainable. I don't know if you can relate to that. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I have a list, but before I go through this, I want us to just take about 2 minutes, maybe 3, and I want you to just kind of turn around to the people around you, and I want you to share with them, what are some of the things in your life that keep you busy? Go. Yep. All right. All right, so let's see. Let's go over here. What are some things that keep us busy over here? Phones. The to-do list in your head. The never ending. Anything else back here? Work, kids, house, your mom. What about over here? School, family drama. Grandkids. Pickleball, hobbies. There we go. There's a lot of things. All the bills, the deadlines, the task lists, the appointments. And here's the thing, some of the things that we said in this room are good things. They're beneficial. Hobbies, it gives us an outlet, it gives us something to do. Kids, parents, those are good things. We're not just listing off a bunch of nobody, maybe you just didn't want to list off all the sinful stuff, but you're like, I'm not going to say that, it's church. But we didn't even list off the sinful, a lot of the things that I heard here were good, beneficial things in our life, but they create busyness. And they never stop. And we just have to keep going. Here's the truth of the matter. So I'm a very task list, get things done. Then some of you are fly by the seat of your pants kind of person. You're like, oh, what's today? Oh, I'm over here. But you're still busy. You know why? Because your schedule is dictated by everything else around you, and you're just like, yeah, let's go do it. And it's interesting because especially in our culture, I find that a lot of times when we greet people, we walk up to someone, we're like, how are you doing? I'm busy. And we say it like it's a good thing. Like it's kind of this badge of honor. And I've been stuck in that rut times in my life where I'm like, if I can tell you that I'm busy, then you'll think I'm important, and you'll think that I have things to do, and you'll think that I'm a well-rounded person because I'm busy. And so sometimes we use those phrases, and it's become accepted by our culture. Truth is, we wonder why we're burdened down, why we're weary, why we're stressed out, why we're anxious, why we have broken relationships, broken promises, and broken hearts. Because our culture has created an unsustainable rhythm of life. It all feels very heavy, incredibly heavy and incredibly hard. But somewhere in the midst of all of this, Jesus is calling ever so softly. In the midst of everything that we just listed and didn't list, Jesus is calling so softly, just like he did in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 29. When he said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke. That's not a phrase that we use very much in our culture because we're not a predominantly farming culture where everybody understands and uses these terms just on an ongoing basis. But in the culture of Jesus, this phrase made so much sense. Because in that time, a yoke was a wooden contraption that you would put on the oxen as they were plowing the fields. And here's the interesting thing about the yoke. The yoke was what kept the oxen connected to the master that was driving them in the fields, but it kept them safe because it kept them from veering off course. It kept them fighting each other. It kept them from doing things that they weren't supposed to do so that they could do what they were supposed to do without harm. And so when he gave this illustration, it was a reminder that we are all yoked to something. There's something or some things in our life that we are yoked to, but Jesus was saying, take my yoke upon you. And you see, here's another thing that the people that were hearing this understood. They understood that the yoke that they had been yoked to for such a long time, the Israelites, was the Mosaic Law, 613 commandments found in the Old Testament. And they had yoked themselves to these set of laws as a guideline for finding peace and rest, making it to the promised land, all of those things. But here's what had happened. The Pharisees and the Sadducees and the religious people of the day had constantly been adding to the law. They had taken God's perfect yoke and said, okay, yeah, this is good, but let's add to it. Let's create some more laws. Let's create some more rules. Let's create some more rules that are very burdensome and that will make you work really hard and so that you can prove that you actually love God, so that you can prove that you are His. And it had become so burdensome on the people because there were checklists, there were things they had to complete, there were all of these things that they had to do to prove that they were God's chosen people. And this yoke had become so burdensome, and Jesus was saying, take my yoke on you. Learn from me, because I'm gentle, humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls. All of this stuff that you are fretting over. You see, the Jews did not consider the law cruel slavery. They considered it a gift. It proved that they were God's special people. Therefore, the yoke of the law was not abject oppression, but voluntarily placing oneself under the direct rule of God and working for Him. The Pharisees had added so many rules to God's law that it did become a terrible burden, but Jesus frees us from all of that by inviting us to be yoked with Him. The yoke of Jesus, as understood by Matthew, was not one of fidelity to a code, but of dedication to a person who was God's representative among men. It is about coming back to a place of being yoked and submitted to Jesus. Okay, Lindsay, why don't you come up here? So this is my beautiful daughter. She decided to volunteer so that I wouldn't subject myself to what's about to happen. But here's the thing. I just said a little bit earlier, we're all yoked to something or some things in our life. It's just the reality. We as human beings cannot not be yoked. So maybe for some of us, we're just busy going places. We are just so busy going here, there, and everywhere that we are yoked to an identity of being everywhere, in every place, at any given time. But maybe with all of that comes a yoke of our checklists. And we have our things to do. And we have we're writing down the places we have to be, and we check them off when we get there. We're doing okay. We're making it. But then we kind of get yoked into maybe a diet or a fad or our food, or we're just constantly like trying to figure out what the next best thing to do and health is. So, okay, along with food, yeah, we're going to get yoked to the gym. Okay, let's get yoked up there. So we're yoked to this ideal body, this ideal health regimen. I resonate with this one. In full transparency, there have been moments in my life, especially when I was diagnosed with something, that I tried everything in my power to take it under my control and yoke myself to something that would show that I was in control and I could make it. But it was stressful, it was burdensome, and it didn't yield what I had hoped it would. Fashion, shopping, clothing. Where are we going to yoke to this? You don't know? You got to figure it out. It's just part of life. What's the next shopping trip? What's the next hit of dopamine when I find the perfect outfit? When I find the perfect thing? Oh, that's all kind of fun stuff. You're shopping, you're working out, you're getting healthy. You got work though. Got work. School. Here, needs to be open because you got to be working, girl. Come on. We have our work. We're yoked to it. It makes us feel good. We got promoted. We got somewhere. People are recognizing us. We're making more money this year than I made last year. You got to look at the screen if you're going to work. What are you doing? What's wrong? Okay. All right. We'll go back to a little recreation. A little recreation here. Maybe for you, maybe for the kids. I don't know. You got to figure it out. Here, you know what? You're good? Okay. You good? Sure? You better be good, because you gotta go play some sports. Gotta get your sister to her game, you know? Yeah, mom's out of town. Now you're taking on her yoke. Oh, we did this yesterday. We did a little archery. Why don't we throw that in there? Come on. You got to get good at that. That's not how you hold it. You got to practice hard. Next time I want to see you hit the bullseye the next time we do that. What's wrong? Why are you readjusting? I don't know. What's in the backpack? Got some more places to go, more things to do. Just stuff it in the backpack. Gym backpack, school backpack, work backpack. I don't know. It's about the only thing that's left. Just keep loading you down there. This is what we look like. We are so yoked to all of these things in our life because we need to be important. We need to be fit. Don't you dare drop one of those things. That would be failure if you had to put down one of those things. This is life. This is how you exist. You gonna drop it? Well, you know, church. Well, this is gonna represent church, religion. It's our life vest, right? We put that on, it helps. Yeah? I feel better now. I got a life vest on. I'm breathing. I'm showing up at church. I'm doing all the things. How's it feel? This is the yoke that so many of us are wearing. All the stuff. And we feel a little bit like Lindsay right now. Oh, yeah, you got your cell phone on you? Is it in your pocket? Where is it? Well, hold on. Oh, and the cup of water, okay. Sorry, I drink it all. Here. Oh! Here you go. You just hold it right there. But here's the thing. Jesus doesn't come to choke us. He comes to go, hey, that's Lacey's bow. We don't throw it. He says, I love you. I care so deeply about you. And all that stuff that you're trying to wrestle and hold and do on your own, I want you to come to me with it. I want you to come submit to me. I want you to come find me in the quiet place. I want you to cry out to me because I love you. That's who Jesus is. That's the Jesus we serve. He says, take my yoke. Because I want to give you rest in the midst of everybody yelling at you and telling you that you've got to be better. You've got to do more. You've got to meet the deadlines, check off the boxes, do the religious stuff. But here's the thing. We got to be willing to let some of this stuff go. Doesn't mean that we don't ever go to the gym or buy new clothes, do work. But we stop letting it control us. We stop letting all of those things tell us who we are and what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to become. Because the yoke was a symbol of submission. The yoke was a symbol that I am submitting to the master. And these masters are cruel and they are rough and they are mean. But when I choose to submit to the master, he is gentle and humble. Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, and he refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Jesus is offering rest for your soul for the rest of your life. Will you take it upon yourself? There's no life hack. You see, all too often our hurry is a sign of something else, something deeper. Usually that we're running away from something, whether it be father wounds, childhood trauma, last names, deep insecurity or deficits of self-worth, fear of failure, pathological inability to accept the limitations of our humanity, or simply boredom with the mundane of middle life. Or we're running to something, promotions or purchases or experiences or stamps on our passports or the next high, searching in vain for something no earthly experience has to offer, a sense of self-worth and love and acceptance. See, about 2 months ago, I found myself in one of those places. I had had some changes in work for the better. I was moving along in a job that I really enjoyed and that brought life to me. But I was starting to wear it. And I didn't even realize it. And I remember I was at the gym. I wasn't shopping. I don't do that. But I was at the gym, and I was listening to a podcast. It's a good podcast, really good stuff, but he asked 3 questions, and he was like, so he was talking about work-life balance. He was saying, we all find ourselves, getting out of balance because of 3, and he said 3 things. He asked 3 questions. The first one, he goes, "What am I trying to prove?" And I was like, he said it, and I go, I don't really resonate with that one. Right now, that one doesn't feel relevant to me. I don't think I'm trying to prove anything. Second question was, who am I trying to impress? He said he grew up in a very poor neighborhood, and his adult life working, he was trying to impress all of those people in his past at how successful he had become. Saying, I was like, I don't feel like I just was kind of like, I don't feel like I'm trying to impress anyone. And then he said, third thing is, what am I running from? And I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm running from, but that's the question. And then about 2 days later, I go on a date with my wife, Shannon. You know how wives just have that ability to kind of pierce through your soul and ask you questions? That at the very moment they ask them, you don't appreciate them very much. She asked me a couple questions, and I got a little defensive. I mean, maybe a lot defensive. Like, we're going to lunch. We're supposed to be on a little date, supposed to be having fun. I'm sulking at the table. Why are you asking me questions? I'm doing fine. I don't know what's wrong with you. It's your fault. It's not mine. You know, all those typical husband answers. And then it hit me. I went back to the podcast. And I realized that I was running from relationships. Because I was in a job that I could be successful in. I was in a job that really fit into who I was, but I was leaning really hard into that. And there were relationships that I was forsaking. There were relationships that I wasn't throwing them by the wayside, but I wasn't pursuing them. And if I'm not pursuing them, I'm probably running from them. Because I was choosing to yoke myself to something other than Jesus. We ended up having an incredible lunch. I can be an emotional guy sometimes. There's nothing like sitting in Vessel Kitchen, just like crying at your table, trying to not let other people see you. But it was just this beautiful moment where Jesus just kind of descended in that moment and said, let me take that yoke. And here, why don't you take mine? And then it's really interesting because just a few weeks after that, a friend reaches out to me and he's like, hey, we haven't been getting together very much lately. Why don't we start getting coffee? Or then I talked him into going to the gym. Thank you, Jason. Why don't we start getting together a little more? And that was Jesus saying, here's my yoke. Don't run from it. So I say all of those things this morning because I want to learn how to apprentice under Jesus. And I'm not going to get it right because guess what? Next month, there's going to be another yoke that I'll be trying to pick up. Next week, there's going to be another yoke that I'm going to try to pick up. They just keep coming around. They keep showing up. They keep yelling out for me. They keep beckoning me. But Jesus is going, can you apprentice with me? Can you be quiet and still long enough to hear my voice? To let me tell you who your identity is? To let me tell you what you are worth? To let me tell you whose you are? There's a Hebrew word used in Genesis 1:14 called moedim. It was the word used in Genesis 1:14 when God created light. But it was also used to describe the feast that God gave Israel. And it also describes Shabbat. And it means appointed time. You see, Israel understood that the moments of stopping and resting were appointed times to be with God. In other words, an invitation to come and be with the Creator. Moedim. The rhythms of appointed time in our life where we stop to shed off the yokes that are burdening us down and put on the yoke of rest that Jesus offers us. So as the worship team comes up, I want you to reflect personally on the question that I asked earlier about what keeps us busy. And I want you to think of it in terms of a yoke. And what are those things that you are yoking yourself to, that are creating identity for you, that are defining who you are, that are giving you room to run from the things that are important in your life. They're the things that are distracting you from taking on the yoke of Jesus. We're going to put Psalm 23 back on the screen. This time it's a little different. As you think of those things, I want you to read this, and everywhere that you see a blank, I want you to put your name there. What I would encourage you to do as you read through that with your name inserted, maybe one specific phrase or one sentence really kind of jumped out at you, and that was maybe the thing. Maybe you're like, yeah, the whole thing, but maybe there was just one little thing that jumped out. I want you to just sear that in your memory this morning. Because it's easy to read these scriptures and kind of read them generically, like they're for all of mankind, which they are. Then to put yourself in the scripture, to hear Jesus talking to you, to your soul, and saying those things to you, because none of these things ever will. They will pretend to say those things. They will give you a facade of those things, but they will never say those things and mean it and follow through with it like Jesus does. And so let that sear into your memory. And this week, I would encourage you to pull out Psalm 23 over and over and over again and read it until you get sick of it. Read it until you've got it memorized. Read it until you just like you wake up in the mornings thinking about what it is that Jesus is saying to you. I'm going to ask our prayer team to come up now as well. And as our worship team leads us in this last song, I want to encourage you that if you were like me a couple months ago, something that I've said today kind of prodded you, and maybe you even got a little defensive in your seat. If we were having a conversation, you might have politely excused yourself from it. Or unpolitely. I want to encourage you to come find one of these incredible people up here at the front. Or maybe there's someone next to you or near you that you feel comfortable just praying with. And let's just take a moment of confessing the yokes that we've taken up. And then just have a moment of allowing Jesus to put his yoke on us. To find rest. To find identity. To find who we truly are. So Jesus, we just give this time to you. We ask that you would meet every one of us where we are.
You can have it all. Every part of my world. Take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. Sing that again. You can have it all, Lord. Yes, Jesus. Every part of my world, we lay it down. Take this life and breathe on this heart that is not prayer, we just want to encourage you to stay. The beautiful thing about Crossroads is we don't close. So there's not a closing time. Please stay as you feel led and as you need. Otherwise, we just want to wish you a happy Sunday and a happy week and just pray that you all have a wonderful week. Jesus, thank you so much that you love us enough to change us and convict us. And I pray that whatever it is that you had in mind for us to hear today, that is what we received. We love you and we pray in your precious name. Amen.